How we doing, guys and gals? Welcome back to the channel. We are uh, celebrating our 250. If you're a patriot, you should know what that means and understand what that means. Um, Hopefully, um, this will be one day we can all come together, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, or anything else for that matter. Um, but today's not about the 250. Today is about the actually quite a lot of stuff today. What we're going through, I really don't even know how to title this, to be honest. But we hear all this stuff about Jim Crow 2.0 from Chuck Schumer. Um, we hear that the Save America Act is what Jim Crow 2.0 is. Um, we we're hearing a lot about the illegals that courts has finally decided that Trump can get rid of the illegals, and there's all kinds of things going on right now, and it's just right before the November elections. We also hear all these socialisms. We see these far left socialist Democrats winning their primaries, and it's and everybody thinks it's great. I mean, well, I won't say everybody, but a lot of them thinks it's great. Um, I don't understand, especially with New York, how New Jersey got their far left wing in, and they didn't even look to see what's going on in New York. Mandami, or however you say his name, I think it's Mandami myself, but he promised free bus rides. But then he come back and said, "Oh no, we can't give free bus rides. We can't do that." Uh, Everybody talked about showing ID to vote. Well, you had to have ID and proof of residence in New York to shovel snow back last winter. Um, the Democrats are always second guessing themselves, or maybe not second guessing, but always um, telling us what we need to do when we on the right try to say, well, you got to have this and do this. They're telling us we're wrong. They're telling us we're racist. But I know for a fact I'm not racist. Um, we're all human. We all might say and do things we don't really appreciate, or we don't really, um, I guess, at the moment we think it's right, and then we think about it and we're no, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that. We're all human. We all do that. But my thing today is a Jim Crow 2.0. Okay, now if you have a computer, if you have a cell phone, if you have a tablet, if you have internet, if you don't have internet, go to McDonald's, you get free internet. Some libraries give free internet. Um, Now you can drive around your neighborhood and probably find someone that has open Wi-Fi, and you can get on it, and I'm not telling you to do that, but you can get on their Wi-Fi and look stuff up. So I was sitting around the other night, and I thought I'm gonna look up Jim Crow 2.0, and the Jim Crow 2.0 started out from a white actor. Uh, don't remember the dates. It's way back there. I don't remember the dates, to be honest. I didn't print it out. Like I said, I go old school here. I still trying to learn my computers and stuff on how to do things, and eventually maybe I can put flashy things up on the screen as I'm talking and everything. But until then, right now it's just me doing the redneck style. But anyway, with that being said, um, this actor slash comedian, I guess, wasn't doing that great. And supposedly he went outside, and now I'm just speaking from what I read. Okay. Um, so if you want to fact check me, please fact check me, because if you're checking me, that means you're doing research, and that's what I want y'all to do. Do the research. Back in high school, back in middle school, even elementary school, we had to research things, at times. Um, if you ever had uh, teachers like I had, you had to write 100 words, and you couldn't have and I and but in there but so many times, because she wouldn't count it as a word. Um, so anyway, uh, that's what we had to do back in the day. Gen X is we had to research everything, and I think it needs to go back to that. Kids need to learn how to research. They need to learn how to look things up. Grok ain't going to tell you everything. Google will help you. If you can find some old encyclopedias, that'll tell you a lot of stuff of history and everything, and a lot of stuff that nowadays they have changed from history. It's still in them history books, them parts of encyclopedias. Find an old history book from back in the 90s, 80s, and 90s, and heck, even probably the 70s, and you can see what history between then and now, what is wrote. I guarantee you, probably a lot of it's been changed. But anyway, I went and looked through it. This guy, like I said, he went out, and he wasn't doing too great. And from what I gather, he went out in the back alley, and he saw this black man, and he was. I'm assuming from what I gathered in reading it, the guy was uh, just a bum on the street, homeless man, whatever. But he was dancing, and he was singing some type of song and everything, and it had to do with um, blackface and this, that, and the other, and everything. And or not blackface. I'm sorry, wasn't blackface. Talking about yeah, it was blackface, and and the comedian slash actor thought, well, I'm gonna steal that. So he went, painted his face up black, and he was a white guy acting like a black guy, and he started talking about his stage name was Jim Crow. He performed in front of the president at the time. I can't remember the president at the time, but he performed in front of the president. He draw big crowds and everything. Well, that president decided that would be a good name for a bill that he was planning on writing, and that bill was wrote to stop any blacks from voting. I mean, any blacks from voting. It was any illegals, or almost say illegals, any immigrants that come over, stop them from voting. Even some poor white people, stop them from voting. And when he presented the bill, a lot of people were for it, a lot of people were against it. They fought back and forth. Well, the Democrats were multiple, the Republicans were few. And at the time that Jim Crow was wrote, there was already two, I think, black Republicans already there. And so it come out to where you couldn't vote if you were a certain age. You couldn't vote if you were black. Like I said, if you were an immigrant, you couldn't vote. I believe there was one other reasons you couldn't vote or something. Anyway, like I said, it's been a couple of days since I read it. But look it up. I mean, I'm not making this up. But it was wrote by the Democrats, not the Republicans, the Democrats. Then there were fights back and forth in Congress about the having the Jim Crow and not letting blacks vote and everything. This went on for, as you know, several years. Well, finally, they had one Democrat that crossed the line, because he didn't think it was appropriate to take votes away from American citizens, no matter the color of their skin. So he crossed the line into the Republican side, and that's where everybody gets that the parties switched. The parties didn't switch. One guy went over from the Democrat to the Republican side, and the Republican finally had enough people to squeeze out the Democrats and got rid of Jim Crow 2. Jim Crow. Now, fast forward to today, everything that is going through in this bill, the only thing we ask, Republican side, I say that as we because I'm a Republican. The only thing the Republicans ask are, we want to see proof of citizenship, proof that you was born here, or proof that you have an American citizenship to this country in order to vote. That's not just a right for everyone else, but it is a federal law that we need to, or not federal law, it's a law that we need to pass federally, I should say. But it should go for any state official as well, any governor or any mayor of that state or any city. You should have to be an American citizen. I wouldn't want 50 people or 500 people or 5,000 people voting that don't even have stake here in the U.S., meaning immigrants coming over here or illegals coming over here voting for someone in our country when they don't have no stake in our country. You understand? They can come here and they can vote who everyone else tells them to vote for, and then they can leave back, and then our country goes to shit. So that's the kind of thing that we're trying to stop, and I don't understand how people don't understand that. So no, it's not Jim Crow 2.0, because if it was Jim Crow 2.0, no blacks would be able to vote, period. You know, that's not what it is. And the Democrats, and if there's any black people that watches this, if the Democrats, if you watch them real closely, everything they have to do, everything they have to say, it's always about someone's color. It's like they're trying to tell us, the American people, not Republicans, but all American people, that certain ethnicity is too dumb to do certain things. And we all know that's wrong. We all know that's not right. If my video is probably not going to reach nobody, because I'm a small channel, very, very, very small channel. But if it just reaches one or two, maybe that one or two can share this. By the way, like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you. Thanks for everyone that does watch my video. I think I got 2 subscribers. Thanks to both of you subscribers. I appreciate it. You mean a lot to me because you've been there for a while, and I've not thrown out many videos. But anyway, get back to what I was saying. If you will sit and listen to the Democrat side of the parties, every one of them, everyone that gets up there in front of the camera will say, well, it's just not right. Black people, or people of color, they can't get IDs because of this or because of that. They can't get. What about the women? The women that got married, they're going to have to go and they're going to have to change their birth certificate. They're going to have to get this information. No, you don't change your birth certificate. Your birth name is your birth name on your birth certificate. It don't change. It stays the same, unless your husband legally adopts you. Not marries you, but adopts you. Your last name stays the same as it was when you was born. What you do is you get a copy of your birth certificate. You get a copy of your marriage certificate, which most women that I know of knows where all that stuff's at. And if you don't, you can go to the clerk of court in your town or your state, city, whatever, and you can get a copy of all it because it's all been filed. If you got married legally, it's all been filed in the court system. So they've got your information. It ain't that hard to get it. Now, it might take a few phone calls. It might take a trip or two to get it, but you can get it. And then when you go to vote, you just take that paper with you. Hey, look, here's my birth certificate. I was born here, this state, this date and time, blah, blah, blah. My name has changed. Here's my marriage certificate, or it still got my maiden name, and it has my married name. You know, all that. Show them your license. They see it's the same person. You're in. Your vote. You're out. It's not that difficult. But the Democrat wants to make it seem like it's that difficult for you to do. And they make it out to be like certain people of the population don't know how to do all this. I guarantee you there's probably, I'm just going to be easy there and say 20% of American kids, legal immigrants, and ones that were actually born here, between the age of probably 9 to 14, maybe even 15, that can do more on their phone than most adults can on their laptop, computer, or their phone, because that's the era they were brought up in. Me, I wasn't brought up in computers and phones and stuff. Yeah, we had one computer in our math class when I was in high school. They had one computer class, and all of them with 12 students had to share 3 computers, so you had to take time on computers. You only had a certain amount of time on the computer each day in your class. And then, math class, we had 2, so some of us doing work on paper, some of us doing work on computer. We had to switch around and do that as well. Cell phones, I don't remember having my first cell phone until I was already married on my first wife, and I was in my early 20s, 21, 22, somewhere around there. Pager, I had a pager when I was 18, 19 years old, something like that. But we didn't have all this fancy stuff, then. So a lot of your younger kids have been brought up and raised and learned this stuff from day one, pretty much. So, a parent could go to their child and say, hey, look, I need to get my real license or proof of my citizenship. How can we do that? And that 12-year-old could probably sit down and say, okay, here we go, mom or dad. Right there, we just got to go here and do this, and take care of it. And some places, if you're low income, a lot of places will do it for free. You just got to work with the right people, So don't let the Democrats fool you on that they are for y'all. Democrats is the one that wanted to step on y'all's backs and keep y'all as slaves. Remember that. If you remember history, Democrats fought to keep the slaves. Texas fought even harder to keep slaves even longer. That's why Juneteenth come along, which was celebrated just in Texas because the rest of the state was free. I don't know why the whole country has to celebrate Juneteenth, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, as I was saying, Democrats are the one that wanted to keep y'all down. And I think, and I do believe, and I strongly believe that the reason Martin Luther King was shot is because he finally seen what the Democrats were doing, and he was wanting to switch parties. Because his father, his mother, they were Republicans. He switched to Democrat once he become, in his 20s, something like that. Maybe, I think 20, mid to late 20s, somewhere down there. He went to become a Democrat. He got a lot of stuff done for the black people, for the black community. And I can't say in my personal opinion that everything that he done was good or bad, but I can say that he did do a lot. But I do believe of all the history that I've been looking at and seeing and stuff, I do believe that he got shot because he was going to leave the Democrat Party and go to Republican, because he had found things out with the Democrats that he didn't like himself, and he was disappointed with the Democrat side. And I think he was planning on switching parties to become a Republican. And if he would have done that, he would have brought all the black community with him, because he was such a huge figure in the black community. They would have followed him to the Republican side. And I think that's why he was shot. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything, but I believe, in my opinion, that that's the reason he was shot. I believe he was shot by someone paid for and from by Democrats, because he was going to leave the Democrat Party. And I think that was more of his dream than anything else, other than, blacks and whites getting along together and having a community of fellowship and growth and everything else together. I believe that other part of his dream was that the Republican Party was going to win over the blacks, because he was going to the Republican Party. My opinion, we all know what opinions are like. They're like butts, some a little bigger than others. That's my opinion. Now, the next thing I was wanting to talk about, like I said, this might be a long video, and I apologize. But we have got to understand. I'm going to leave it at that. I'll do my next video tomorrow. But we have got to understand that Jim Crow is dead, gone. There's no more Jim Crow. Republicans love everyone. Republicans, all you hear is Republicans ain't nothing but rednecks. These white boys, blah, 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 blah. It's bullshit. We fight for what we want. We fight for what we need, but we also are pushovers sometimes. And with this socialism stuff coming up, Republican Party has got to fight hard and get rid of these socialism. Because look up the word socialism and see what it says. Google that word for me. Google the word socialism and see what that means and what it says, what socialism is and how it works. Look at other countries that have been going through socialism. See how it works. It'll be the exact same thing here. Because in socialism, when the government takes over everything you got, that means you don't own nothing. Everything you fought and died, or your family, I should say, fought and maybe died for, is gone. I could walk in and say, I want this property. The government would say, it's yours. Now, he'll tell the other people, you don't have to leave, but this is his property too. So you got 500 acres. I want 200 of it. That leaves you with 3. Well, then you got someone else that says, well, I want 100 acres. So they take 100 acres of your land. That's socialism. Socialism is going to tell you where you can spend your money, where you can't spend your money. How much you make, how much you don't make. That's socialism. Everything's going to be down to what the government tells you what you can and cannot do. Don't believe me? Look it up. But I'm going to leave it right there, fellas and ladies. And I thank you for watching, and I hope that you will like, share, subscribe to this video. I really want to get this channel to grow. I'm kind of fumbling on what to do and how to do certain things. But there is one thing that I will never fumble about, and that's to let you know that Jesus loves you. He always will, and he'll never forsake you. And I thank you for watching, and I appreciate all the time that you took out to watch this video. And like I said, just remember, they're right there. America 250, brother. America 250. Thanks a lot.